Dhomale, isn't it?
So it's Domale.
Dhomale.
Domale, yes, sir.
Dhomale is normally spelled Dhumale, isn't it?
So it's not pronounced DHO, Dho, it's DO, Domale.
Domale.
Domale, that's right.
Because I have a very close classmate of mine who's also a Dhomale. That's the reason I asked you. Anyway, when is your 22nd is your interview? Anyway, I think like most, like possibly might happen at the regular interview, you'll be asked perhaps to start by introducing yourself and giving us an idea of what is it that that particularly attracts you to the civil service. How do you consider yourself, in a sense, qualified to join the civil service? What are the particular kind of reasons why you would like to do it? And perhaps what attracts you in the service? Who are some of your main aspirational figures, role models, etc.? Please start off on that line.
So with the introduction.
Yes.
So my name is Nitish Domale, and I was born and brought up in Katangi, Bujruk, in Goregaon Tehsil, Gondia district, Maharashtra. After that, I studied for my schooling in Goregaon, that is Tehsil place, and 11th, 12th in Gondia district. After that, I did my engineering from Padma Dr. Vithalrao Vikhe Patel College of Engineering, Ahmednagar, that is in Pune University, sir. And after completing my graduation in 2012, I have been preparing for civil services. And apart from my educational qualifications, sir, I enjoy creative writing, also storytelling, and at times mobile photography.
Okay. Which language? Is it only in Marathi or in English or in both languages?
So both the languages, sir.
Okay. Have you published?
So I post it on blog, sir.
Okay. Okay. But none which is published?
No, not yet, sir.
Okay. Now tell me, what is it that you have any inspirational figures, either from history or from your personal life, which have in a sense inspired you to public service?
Yes, sir. I belong to a village place called Katangi, wherein since my childhood only.
Katangi, where is in which part of not in the. It's in the this thing Marathwada area, or
no, so it's in Vidarbha.
Vidarbha. Okay. Okay. Vidarbha.
So since my childhood, I came across the works done by civil servants, sir, because at times there was a mishap, wherein almost every situation was controlled by the IAS officer who was appointed there, and during that period only, I was kind of attracted towards it because I was a good student in my school days. So I assumed this is a good opportunity, but then that dream was not that serious for me. But I already had some kind of attraction towards the services, sir. But in my engineering days, I came across an interview by an IPS officer in the same region, and then it kind of influenced me, sir. After that, I read about the works done by various officers in the book called Steel Frame, and then I realized this is the service which gives me the opportunity to do my bit in order to be the part of solution and not just creep about the problems, because most of us have this habit of blaming on something or other. That was also one of the things. And also, sir, because of the interaction that I used to have with the friend of my grandfather, so they used to always mention ki DM is doing this stuff, or IAS officer, IPS officer, they used to call it Collector Babu. So he is doing this stuff. So that always had this impression on my mind that, okay, I should also aspire to be part of something like this.
Okay, go ahead. In this climate change talks towards this COP26 and all that, has India overcommitted its obligations proactively?
So considering the necessity of doing our bit in order to contain the climate change or rising temperature, every country will have to do their share, sir. And India being one of the emerging as another pole of the geopolitics in the world, this was an opportunity to commit, and also the performance of the India in attaining other goals of the, say, example, renewable in the sector of renewable energy. India did.
I would like you to analyze it comparatively and take 2 or 3 other countries as to, over a series of 2-3 international conferences, what has been their level of commitment and what has been India's level of commitment, commensurate with the stage of development at which that country is?
So, of course, our per capita consumption of electricity is not comparable to the developed world. Also, historically, we are not the responsible one who has driven this climate change to this extent. But this is the problem of entire planets, and every country will have to do their share. And I think it's always better to.
When I say over-committed, it has to be on a comparative framework and not on a standalone basis. I'm asking my same question in a different way.
So, considering the fact that India has committed to be carbon neutral by 2070, so I think
On that framework, Germany and France should have been carbon neutral by 2030.
yes, sir. So the thing is, most of the other countries are failing in their commitment. That is
Okay.
observed fact, sir. But
Do you know what China's commitment is?
2050.
yeah, around 2040
2060.
or 2050, sir.
2060 for
2060.
something.
So I don't know. Thank you.
Has India been successful, has our economy been successful in dealing with the non-performing assets? What is your evaluation?
So
Have we been able to deal with our non-performing assets of the banks?
So pre-COVID, during the pre-COVID days, India was on the path of resolving that particular issue. But then COVID pandemic happened, and again, the non-performing assets are almost in the same range, around 9 to 11%. So this was unavoidable.
And what has been the level of haircut in those which have been apparently resolved? You know what I mean by haircut?
So the amount of losses that were allowed to happen and amount realized. So that's what. The thing is that around 30% to 40% has been realized in some cases, and in case of Island
In
FS,
some cases it's even 20 and 10.
say if you take the example of Island and FS, wherein a dedicated committee was established, so they managed to raise around 60% of it, sir. Today, till now,
And it is
and
work in progress.
yes, sir, and around 20 more percent they are claiming they'll manage to get back.
My last question on this issue, by virtue of creating a bad bank, the banks will simply wash their hands of the NPA and pass it on to the bad banks without any accountability of the banks and a feeling of responsibility for ensuring getting the best out of the deal.
So bad bank is like asset restructuring company, wherein
Now, I know what the bad bank is, but have you heard the question? It's simply a platform to shift the entire, like wo jhadu maar ke hata diya.
so they have the expertise,
Who has
wherein
the expertise? The banks had
no,
the
sir,
expertise.
bad banks, sir.
They are just being constituted and they are just the same people being going there.
Sir, but those people who will be appointed in those particular bad banks, they will have some kind of expertise in order to revive those business which are already making
A big
loss.
bank like State Bank of India cannot not have a vertical dedicated to dealing with NPAs.
So bank also have other responsibilities in order to ensure equitable growth, and mostly their loans are short term in nature. So they, although they should, but they cannot always follow the project for which they have lent. So in a case when a project goes haywire, so in that case they can transfer it to a bad bank, and then bad bank, with using its own expertise, can to extent possible regain whatever the value they can out of that particular project, sir.
Okay, thanks.
So there's running away from the problem. You're allowing them to allowing a state bank, a bank like the State Bank, to do what it has, and then when it gets into, throw its hands up and say, give it to them. That can be fairly destructive of the image of banking in general, isn't it?
So their lending profile to an extent doesn't allow them to lend the loans selectively. And they don't have expertise in following the way project is developing, sir. If they can have that kind of vertical wherein they have the capable people to follow them, then that can be done. But I think bad bank will be dedicated.
That's
body.
theory at least, yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Right. Nitesh, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Nitish, you have mentioned in your hobby creative writing.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you mean by creative writing?
Ma'am, in creative writing, I just do not follow a set pattern. Based on my experience that I have on daily basis, I write about things, and I try to convey message through the way of, say, humor, or whatever the message that I have understood out of it, I try to convey it, ma'am. Either through essays or dialogues, anything of that sort.
So this is your method of creative writing, or is there a standard definition for creative writing?
Ma'am, creative writing is a vast umbrella term wherein people at times write essays, poems, or they also blog about it. So there are various. It doesn't fall within the technical sense that it only talks about technical things, or say example economics, or for that matter technology. Herein we try to ease out, and with the liberty of writing, we can mold it into anything that we feel like, and then convey the message through the way we like to do it.
So there are no rules to creative writing, is it?
Ma'am, not that I know of.
All right. So could you explain me the difference between creativity, innovation, and invention?
Can I take a moment, ma'am?
Sure.
Ma'am, I feel creativity is doing things differently. If we try to add some kind of innovation in it, there is also possibility. Innovation is improving upon the existing. Innovation is improving upon the existing thing, and invention is creating an entirely new thing.
So innovation is just working upon an existing thing.
Ma'am,
Then why are we going after innovation when we can only make marginal improvements? India, in order to move up the manufacturing value add chain. So we are talking about innovation. Then are we simply saying that we will just make tweaks to the existing, manufacturing components, and we'll call it innovation?
Now, if innovation helps in improving efficiency and effectiveness through those small tweaks, then that can also be considered innovation. And if it demands to entirely reform the entire system.
So what does those small tweaks do?
Ma'am, it helps to evolve this existing system, because human being has the tendency to resist the change. If that changes is brought in a sudden manner, so there is a chance that people who are stakeholder of that particular task can resist.
So can you give me example of one innovation?
Ma'am, we can take the example of Swachh Bharat mission as well, wherein usually everyone knew that one shouldn't do open defecation, but it wasn't we were not able to eradicate it. But the thing is, after we employed nudging methods, we constantly encourage them to do away with those practices, and also by appealing to their traditional beliefs and
systems. So
system.
in this Swachh Bharat mission, where does invention come?
Invention, ma'am, in order to improve the way toilets are built, also when people's mindset and behavior are nudged, there is also some kind of invention, ma'am.
All right. You also do storytelling.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's like an impromptu storytelling, or do you've thought about it, written about it, and then you started? And how do you pursue your hobby of storytelling?
Ma'am, mostly it's based on the experiences that I have in our day-to-day life. So at times I can retell the story that I already written.
So whom do you tell it to?
Ma'am, mostly to my friends, family, because that's the way of communicating.
They're willing to listen to your stories?
Yes, ma'am. They in fact enjoy it.
Great. We were talking about bad banks.
Yes, ma'am.
Of course, there's a lot of economic restructuring happening,
Yes, ma'am.
right? And the government has also introduced terms like asset monetization
Yes, ma'am.
and strategic disinvestments.
Yes, ma'am.
So what is the difference between the two?
Ma'am, asset monetization is the term wherein the asset that are lying idle or we are not able to fully utilize them, we are monetizing them through the form of leasing. Whereas in strategic divestment or disinvestment, we are selling those to the person who can manage them well.
All right. So in case of Air India, what have we pursued?
Ma'am, Air India. Ma'am, we are strategically divesting, we divested Air India, ma'am, to.
So don't you think the government is selling off its family silver? I mean, we obviously have railways, and come what may, we are not ready to privatize it. We can ensure private participation, but we are not willing to privatize. Why? What is with Air India that we completely let go of it?
Ma'am, it was like a liability because we, although we tried to revive it and make it profitable, but we couldn't do it.
So same situation lies with the railways also? You're not able to salvage?
Ma'am, railway, although it is not that profitable, but there are so many reasons, because considering the fact that railways are utilized by common people, who at times, mostly they are used by poor people. So although it is not that profitable yet, but we have to take that responsibility of ensuring affordable transportation to them. And also there is a cross subsidization, ma'am, but the thing is we are trying to solve it by increasing the fare of second tier, third year, first year AC, and in that process making the sleeper class or general class affordable.
And so why are we selling off Air India?
Ma'am, because we were incurring losses in Air India.
Could you give me some specifics?
Ma'am, no, I am not able to recall specifics.
Thank you.
Nitish, writing by itself is a creative activity. Why do you have to add creative word to it?
So some sort of writings are technical in nature.
They are not creative?
So one can add creativity, but mostly to many people it's monotonous, boring. That is what it is considered. Unless and until a person is interested in it, usually people avoid reading it. But creative writing is an umbrella term wherein most of the people enjoy it for the sake of it.
Who, the writer or the reader?
Reader as well, sir. Writer, of course, if he is writing, so he is enjoying, that's why he is writing, but reader also enjoy it.
Achha, I see from your DAF that you passed out from college in 2012.
Yes, sir.
And did you work somewhere in between?
Sir, after 2016, I worked as a freelancer in a public trust called Shiv Vidya Prabodhini, sir.
So that's how you have been able to survive financially?
Up till 2019, yes, sir. They were paying me around 10,000. That was enough for me. And but after that, COVID happened, and I had to go back to my place. And post 2019, I am not working, sir.
Did you consider working somewhere?
So in 2019, when COVID happened, so I had to go back, and there were not many opportunities to work at that place. And also, then I decided at least this time I should give a dedicated attempt.
Fair enough. You started by referring to the book Steel Frame.
Yes, sir.
Do you agree with the assertion that steel frame of India has corroded and is crumbling?
So the existence of any society, if not the development, is entirely dependent upon the way administration works. And administration provides steel frame, but that has another connotation as well, that they are rigid to change. They are resisting the change. That can also be done, but steel frame provides that bone structure, wherein other things can add or other developments can happen. So that this role is also played by bureaucracy.
Is that structure crumbling? That is the question.
So I don't think, sir, it is crumbling, because there can certainly be some changes that can be introduced, some reforms can be done, but that particular structure is still intact.
Okay. Recently, former RBI Governor D. Subba Rao, he wrote an article in a newspaper. Have you read that article?
So I'm not able to.
The title of the article was, "Has IAS Failed the Nation?" Do you agree with that assertion now?
So failing or success of any organization can be found out on outcome. And in past 70 years, we have been able to achieve some milestones. Say example, we were able to reduce the poverty to the level of 22%. Or we were able to create a facilitative platform for a private industry to take off, to the extent that we are one of the bigger power. So I think that was one of the fairly good role that was played.
But you are attributing that success to the bureaucracy in general. But some people would say that the nation has been able to do what it has been able to do despite bureaucracy, not because of bureaucracy?
So I think there were many ways. Any entropy can be there in everybody, but that entropy needs to be reduced, and that particular task was done by civil services or the structure of the government.
I will ask only one question. You have a hobby of mobile photography.
Yes, sir.
So suppose you have an earphone which is connected to a mobile, and then you have to take a photo. By what all mechanisms we have to take the photograph?
So with the help of mobile earphone.
Earphone.
Sir, with the help of earphone, we can click on the earphone as well. So that
Does all the earphones they have that functionality?
No, so wired earphone mostly. Because I haven't used wireless, so I never checked it on that particular device.
That's it from my side.
Okay.
We'll call you
Okay,
back.
we'll call you back. Come, please sit. Now you come across as a very personable person, and you can empathize with the people who are interviewing you. So the first impression is one of warmth. There's no doubt about it. But in terms of getting onto subjects, I think you need to be a little more careful in terms of the specifics and details, because you do sometimes tend to linger, to move, without too much of giving pointedness to your answers. So you need to get a little more pointed. And try to, as far as possible, work to get people to ask you on your strengths. For example, whenever you talked about your hobbies, etc., even though the idea of creative writing, there has been a little bit, because by writing creative writing, you have actually automatically produced a question. What is creative writing? So you have to be very clear in terms of what creative writing is. And in the discussion that you had, it was not entirely clear. As, for example, in terms of what the difference between creativity, innovation, and invention, this is something which can come. Certainly can, because creativity does involve innovation, because you can't get on the same track all the time and expect to be creative in your writings. It has to be, you have to innovate in order to be creative. At the same time, what is the difference you have to be able to identify? And this kind of, so when you write creative, you've already committed yourself to defining creative writing. So, and I think even storytelling as such, how do you do your storytelling? You should be able to, either it's through blogs or through, through particular impromptu kind of, shots which you give through over the WhatsApp or the internet. That can be a way in which storytelling can be done. There has to be some way in which you can, in a sense, fill out, add coloratura, as it were, to what you're doing. And I think that will probably make it a little more interesting, and people say, you're doing something very, very interesting. Now, in terms of your other addressing of various issues, I think it is important, you will be asked questions on certain major economic pointers relating to the places, to your own district and things like that. You need to get all the facts very straight on.
Specific contours of the question. Has India committed itself as compared to other developing countries? Over-committed compared to other developing countries. You get the point? Then NPAs also, is it passing on the responsibility and accountability? So in railways you are getting cornered, but railways serve the common man. The aviation sector really does not serve the common man. It serves the marginalized sector. I never heard those words from you. Railways is virtually monopolistic. In aviation, there is a high level of competition which will ensure cost competitiveness. So that way, just think over the answers sometimes when you are getting cornered. You can say that these two are different from each other. That's it.
Overall, they have already covered. Just, I think it's just, mannerism of speaking. Sometimes for so, you use Hindi word to. So you can reduce that. And hobbies, you have to really, because you have mentioned, different kind of hobbies, something that is distinct from someone else. So prepare on those well. Think of all those questions that could come from those domains. Prepare, list them well. Speak with your friends. Try to convince them how your creative writing. What is your idea of creative writing? What is creative writing? If somebody else feels that it's going in the right direction, maybe, and then keep fine tuning. Otherwise, the rest of the topics are okay. Just come to the point straight. Right?
Nothing more to add. All the very best.
Thank you.
I'll do in one-to-one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.